Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. You know, we took our first steps down the road to WrestleMania 35 tonight on this episode of Monday Night Raw, and with two major exceptions, many of them were missteps, and we are going to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review. Let the hammering commence, and let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me. This show was almost as much of a chore to get through as last night's Royal Rumble event. Somehow this 3 hours of tonight's Monday Night Raw felt 5 hours long. To me, I was just as bored to tears during this show as I have been in the history of Monday Night Raw, which over the last 2, maybe 3 calendar years has just been getting worse and worse and worse. Was there a couple of good things on the show tonight? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't have the man come to town and confront the baddest woman on the planet, Ronda Rousey, and not get goosebumps by the time that whole segment was said and done. And we actually had the Beast Brock Lesnar show up for work once again, and we had Seth Rollins make his monumental decision on which championship he has chosen to challenge for at the upcoming WrestleMania. Now, with the exception of those two things, everything else I could have lived without. You want to talk about building up for the Elimination Chamber? What was truly built for that pay-per-view, with the exception of the women's tag team division finally getting some light shed on it on any show from the WWE. We had those beautiful tag team championships on display, and I did not see one team tonight worthy of actually wearing those championships, in my opinion. What were the 4 teams that we had? Tamina and Nia Jax. Do I have to even get into why that's just fucking ridiculous? Do I have to? Please don't make me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We're going to move on down the list because there's a lot of shit to talk about tonight. We're not going to corner ourselves into talking about how terrible Nia Jax and Tamina are. It's laughable, and it's nepotism at its very finest if it does actually end up being them that win this thing. And who did they go up against? They went up against the makeshift tag team of Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. Don't tell me, oh, well, they've been a team. They haven't been a tag team. They've always just been together. They may have had a tag team match here or there, but they have never been solidified as a tag team duo. We've always just had Mother Hen Mickie James with her little chickadee bird Alexa Bliss in their on-again, off-again friendship. One week they're fighting, the next week they're best friends, another week they're fighting, the next week they're best friends. Who gives a shit? How is this a team? We'll have to forgive it just due to their history, but here it is. We have these two versus Nia Jax and Tamina. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it right now. And what was the other matchup? The Riot Squad. It's almost as if they watched my How Can You Fix the Riot Squad episode of Bringing the Hammer Down that you could see on this channel right now, as we had Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan put together as a legit tag team to make a push towards the tag team championships. And who were they going up against? Another makeshift thrown together tag team of Natalya and Dana Brooke. Why do I give a shit about this? And then you want to have them squibbling in the back. Oh, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. You're better than me. Who gives a shit about any of this? I certainly didn't. And that just made it even more predictable that the Riot Squad was going to easily be the ones to advance to this Elimination Chamber tournament or whatever it is they're doing for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Very, very predictable outcomes, and I don't really care much for any of it. Had they spent some time over the last year, since they knew they were going to do this, you can't tell me they didn't know this was going to happen. If they would have focused their energy in the women's division just maybe a fraction of it be devoted to caring about the tag team aspect and not putting all of your eggs in two baskets, being Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax, for the course of 2018 up until now, maybe I'd be interested. Maybe you'd have formidable duos. You wouldn't have to put together ragtag tag teams on a last-minute episode of Monday Night Raw just to get this thing off the ground. And people might actually give a shit. But what was so different? Where's the change? There's still no fucking change. This show opened and followed the same format that Monday Night Raw always does. We had an opening segment that included an authority figure. We had a couple of legends come out and show once again, as I continue to say, and they continue to prove me right. You got a guy like Jeff Jarrett and a guy like the Road Dogg coming out there on a Monday Night Raw in 2019 and doing more with a microphone than the entire young roster that the WWE has. Whether or not you like them, you cannot deny the fact that these guys are great on the microphone. And it comes from that old school style of getting trained and just saying what comes to mind and shooting from the hip and doing what you feel and not so much what is told for you to say. It's just disgusting to see how much better the older generation is at live performing. It doesn't seem scripted. It doesn't have a, scripted cadence to it. It's just natural and it just comes out. And even a guy like Jeff Jarrett can embarrass a guy like Elias on the microphone in this day and age. And to me, that's kind of unacceptable. It may be entertaining, but it's unacceptable. We had Dean Ambrose coming out there. Why does he give two shits about Seth Rollins and whether or not he's talking to Triple H right now? Does he not realize that Triple H is the boss? Still, at the end of the day, he's one of the bosses, one of the heads. He's one of the guys that are calling the shots. He said it himself tonight, but then he's coming out there going, why are you talking to this guy? Why wouldn't he be talking to this guy right now? They're not forming a faction. They're not reuniting as the authority. He's talking about his talent's upcoming plans for WrestleMania. So everything Dean Ambrose essentially said tonight came out of his ass and meant absolutely nothing and made zero sense. Why would he be more upset now today with Seth Rollins because he's listening to Triple H than he was last week when he was afraid of Seth Rollins getting his germs all over him? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then, you got to give him a couple of good one-liners to put it on the boss's son, right? You got to go, don't you have to get your daddy's permission or your father-in-law's permission to do these kind of things? Chuckles, calling Triple H names. And then he wants a match with Seth Rollins. You came out there talking about Seth Rollins almost as if you were trying to save him or as if you were trying to reunite with him. And you're going, you know what? I'm so mad that you're talking to Triple H. I want a match with you. So now we have another match between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Like we haven't seen that enough over the last couple of months. And what did it mean? What was it for? There was nothing at stake. It was just a grudge match. And it went off without a hitch, and I really could care less. Who did you think was going to win? The guy that just won the Royal Rumble or the guy that ain't doing shit right now? Come on. As a wrestling fan, you knew as soon as that matchup kicked off that Seth Rollins was going to get the win. Unless they decided to pull some BS shenanigans with Daniel Bryan getting involved or Brock Lesnar getting involved. But that's not what happened here. You want to talk a little bit more about that? I feel like the WWE missed the boat on the last segment of the evening. You got Seth Rollins with this choice. He has to make the choice between which champion he wants to face. Triple H at the beginning of this thing says Daniel Bryan will be here. Brock Lesnar will be here. And at the end of the night, before Seth Rollins can even come out and make the proclamation, you got Brock Lesnar coming out trying to be the one to call the shots. You have Paul Heyman standing there saying, there's only one logical choice for him to make. He could go have a great match and what the hell did he call it? He could have, whatever the fuck he said, some kind of a technical masterpiece with Daniel Bryan, or he can fight and try to slay and conquer the beast. We all knew what his choice was going to be. It would be kind of stupid for him to go to SmackDown Live right now, but the WWE opted to give you no intrigue, opted to do nothing different, nothing exciting, or nothing to even offer you the opportunity to say, I wonder which title he's going to pick, because they come straight out Have Brock Lesnar kick this thing off. Paul Heyman says what he has to say. Seth Rollins comes out, tries to execute a stomp on the big guy, and only ends up eating a bunch of F5s for his troubles. And they went with their standard, we're going this route. Nothing different. Nothing new. So you essentially had Daniel Bryan show up at Monday Night Raw to come talk to fucking Charlie Caruso. He should have been a part of that end. He didn't have to be physical, he didn't have to get involved, and it could have still went down the same way, but they should have had the two champions in the ring on Monday Night Raw. You should have had Seth Rollins be the man to dictate the pace of that segment. It wasn't a Brock Lesnar segment. That was supposed to be all about Seth Rollins, and it just was turned on its head. They did something that they always do, as we expect from them. Nothing more exciting. They didn't try to generate any curiosity or make any suspense at all. He said Daniel Bryan will be here, but he wasn't in the final segment of the night, which is where he belonged. Not just walking down the hallway with the new Eric Rowan to talk to some friggin' promo bot in the back. That was a misstep. That was a failure. And it made everything, to me, just seem a little bit underwhelming. I expected more. I even expected while Brock Lesnar was beating him down, maybe Daniel Bryan was going to come out and either start laughing, clapping, something. Something to get people talking. But now we just have to rely on Daniel Bryan not saying anything to get us involved and invested and ready for tomorrow night's SmackDown Live. Elias and that whole thing with Jeff Jarrett. Why would he be turning heel? Why? One of the most red-hot superstars on the market. The guy commands the crowd almost like nobody else on the current roster. And you're turning him back heel. You turned him babyface to go against Bobby Lashley. And now you're turning him heel for what reason? Is it solely so that Jeff Jarrett can get a pop? Is your plans for Elias to have to go one-on-one with Jeff Jarrett somewhere down the line? I don't see that as a positive. I don't see that as new. I don't see that as listening to the fans. But if you were listening to the fans tonight, you probably were more entertained than you were by watching the actual wrestling. The fans tonight in Phoenix came with that Raw after WrestleMania mentality. A lot of great chants on the night. A much better energy in the crowd tonight for Monday Night Raw than there was for the Royal Rumble, and I won't understand that. Not one bit. But these are some of the things that I wanted to touch upon before we get to the card up and down. As we were saying, Seth Rollins opened the show, and I really can appreciate how he was genuinely getting emotional when having the chance to point to the WrestleMania sign, which is something that all of us kind of shit on. These guys, oh, you gotta win the Royal Rumble and point to the WrestleMania sign. And Seth Rollins made it a point to be like, I promised myself that I wouldn't do this because he knows just how corny it is. But he promised himself, because this was always his dream, to be able to win the Royal Rumble and point to that WrestleMania sign like everybody else has so many years in the past. And I could relate, and I could see the tears swelling up in his eyes, and you could see his voice kind of getting a little bit choky on him as he was breaching this topic. And I definitely could relate, as many of you probably could as well. Growing up wrestling fans, if you even maybe for one day in your life as a child dreamed to be in WrestleMania, or had that same exact dream as many guys like myself and Seth Rollins, that you could maybe one day win something as special as the Royal Rumble and have the chance to point at that sign. It's just something that not many people can say that they have done, and it's something that in the lore of professional wrestling is very special, and he was acknowledging that and was almost brought to tears on live TV, and I have to give the guy respect for that. From then on, it just went to shit. Triple H came out, started to pump him up, talking about how this is the Seth Rollins that I wanted to see, and which opponent are you going to pick? You know how the machine works. We work very fast. We need to make posters and make tickets and make internet things so that the internet world doesn't get to spoil it. That's really what it's all about. why they couldn't allow Seth Rollins to begin with to play with this thing over the course of a couple of weeks until giving his decision on who he's going to fight. I don't know. They just don't like surprises. They don't like to give you suspense and intrigue, and I don't understand why that is, because that, my friends, is good television. What we're getting is not. 24 hours after winning the Royal Rumble, you are forcing him to make a decision. Why? Because they have to make sure that we don't get the info before we're supposed to and be plastering it and spoiling it all over the world. So let's just get it out there. What are our WrestleMania plans? Let's get them out there. Instead of talking and focusing more on the Elimination Chamber, which is only 3 weeks away, which is your last chance to really start to set things up for WrestleMania, so you have time. You have time. Why was this had to be done tonight? I didn't understand that at all. We talked about Dean Ambrose coming out, calling him a suck-up, right? Calling Triple H a daddy's boy, in a sense, and getting his match granted to him. Another match that we've seen over and over and over again that we didn't have to see again. Seth Rollins wins this match with relative ease. Honestly, it wasn't that much of an even fight. Seth Rollins had this match in the bag for the most part of it. We came back to one of the weirdest segments of the night, which is Dean Ambrose was still in the ring. And he was sitting there and he's like, I got something I want to get off my chest. I want to tell the world and I got to tell it now. And then Nia Jax and Tamina come out there for some unfucking known reason at the time. And very, very awkwardly start to get in the face of Dean Ambrose. And then before you know it, Nia Jax is throwing hands and gets physical, and Dean Ambrose ends up outside, and he's all perplexed and confused. And Renee Young, the man's wife, has absolutely nothing to say on the matter. She wasn't getting all riled up and pissed off, hey, don't touch my husband. Nothing. It's like she's not even there, which I don't understand that. If that's the case, then just... I don't know. If you can't talk about your husband, then you shouldn't be on the Monday Night Raw commentary team at all, especially when he's such a major part of the show. She just disappears during these key moments, and it takes away from the believability of anything, really. And it made no sense. And then this guy just walks off, leaving Tamina and Nia Jax in the ring, and then Alexa Bliss and Mickey come out, and we were having a match. Why do they book things like that? Why do we have to step one segment over the other? Why did that whole thing with Dean Ambrose have to happen in the first place? We had to make him look even stupider by being assaulted by women on Monday Night Raw? Come on, you guys. They have got to do better than this. And then you want to give me this matchup that I really could care less about, and who ends up winning in the end in a very underwhelming matchup? Nia Jax and Tamina advance and qualify for this tag team championship tournament. And I knew that was coming. No reason for Alexa and Mickey to be involved in this thing. Alexa is a single superstar. Mickey James is a legend. It doesn't need to be happening. They are the Samoan twins are the ones that are going to get the push for some God-known reason. But that is the direction in which we are going. I just want to also touch upon the fact that we said before that this was a match between two terrible teams. But both of these teams essentially were heel teams. So much so that prior to the match we had a previously filmed promo by Alexa Bliss and Mickey James where they regressed backwards once again and going back to the fat jokes. Saying that looking at Nia Jax was like putting lipstick on a pig or some shit like that. And I didn't laugh. I didn't chuckle, not because it was mean to Nia Jax, but because are we really going back to this childish fucking ridiculousness again that really just gets on my nerves? That they are so inept at being creative that they just go to the very easy, very childish, uncreative well and pull out the same old shit. It's like a bunch of Raw's greatest hits. Just like having Baron Corbin on this show on multiple occasions, which is a sin that is almost unforgivable on this channel. Baron Corbin's having an unnecessary match with Kurt Angle for some reason, and then he actually gets the win. Now, on the one hand, you want to say, well, you don't want the legend coming back and squashing the up-and-coming new talent, but who the fuck wants to see Baron Corbin? We are so sick of Constable Corbin dickhead on this show, coming out, wrestling in his three-piece suit, looking like an absolute idiot. I don't care how much heat he has with the crowd. This is almost reminiscent of what we used to say about Roman Reigns. This is not natural, organic. I don't like this guy. He's cool, but I don't like him heat. This is get this bald idiot off my TV. I'm sick of hearing his voice. I'm sick of seeing his face, and nobody wants to have even 1 second of time with Baron Corbin on any wrestling program anywhere in the world. That doesn't make him must-see TV. That makes you all insane for continuing to have this man on TV not once, but twice. And having a match with Kurt Angle wasn't enough. You gotta put the mic in this guy's hand and let him have his say about things. And let him insult Kurt Angle and say all this unnecessary shit. I can't take it anymore. It's the same old routine over and over and over again. It's like we say on this show, making this show almost a repeat of itself because I have the same complaints week after week, and that's because nothing is truly being done. Take, for example, Finn Balor. Finn Balor is coming hot off of a fantastic fucking match with Brock Lesnar last night. It was a match that was cut way too short, but I understand the constraints of time, being that it was so late in the night already. They might have had to chop a few minutes off that match, but Finn Balor came out tonight to address that matchup and said that he is not ashamed. He's not going to hang his head for losing to Brock Lesnar because he made Brock Lesnar believe in Finn Balor. And I was very interested to hear what he had to say following that, but it would be ruined by the introduction of the all-milk dud, Bobby Lashley, who's coming out here with his little tick of a friend jumping around by his side, Lio Rush. They want to come and confront Finn Balor for some unknown reason. Lio Rush made me laugh a couple of times, and not in a good way tonight. He wants to stand there and say that Bobby Lashley is twice the man that Brock Lesnar is. That Brock Lesnar is nothing in comparison to the all-milk dud? I don't think so, buddy. And then he's got the nerve to stare at Finn Balor and call Finn Balor a twerp. Does he not own a full-length size mirror? Does this guy think he's the size of Bobby Lashley? What gives him the right to call Finn Balor a twerp? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Finn Balor fires back with a great comment. He's like, you know, I went one-on-one with the Beast last night, and I lasted much longer with him than you lasted in the entirety of the Royal Rumble. What was it, about 12 seconds? Which was a little bit too much for the milk dud to handle. And he went off the handle, and it would go on to attack Finn Balor. Lashley gives him the beat down, and that would be the end of it. Lio Rush would drape his t-shirt over Finn Balor's face, and now this man has gone from having a near 5-star encounter with Brock Lesnar to being served up to somebody who isn't worth the bottom of my shoes. Alright, so that's what the WWE truly thinks about Finn Balor. Thanks for filling in and giving us a great match. Here's your reward. You get to look like an idiot. A banged up, beat up Finn Balor easily taken advantage of by boring, trashly Bobby Lashley. The old milk dud. So done with it. The Revival shows up tonight to actually have a tag team matchup, and they get to face Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Zack Ryder's been gone so long that the friggin' staff that does the graphics on this team in the WWE forgot how to spell the guy's name. It's not Z-A-C-H. It's Z-A-C-K. Zack Ryder. Woo, woo, woo. You know it, and so do I. They want to build up Hawkins and Ryder on this return. Okay, they want to tell you how they are former tag team champions. Right? They want to tell you that they were once the Edgeheads. They have all this history. They have chemistry. And this is a team that hasn't been together over the course of the last 10 years. Now, while on the one hand, I would take this teaming and I would welcome this back into the fold way more than I would welcome the Hype Bros back into the fold, because I hated that team. But I thought that this would be good. I figured that this was going to at least be a decent matchup, and we could all say thank you to AEW Wrestling, and they should pretty much have been announced as the sponsor to this matchup. Because had they not hit the radar and started to make noise, neither would have the Revival, neither would guys like Zack Ryder, and now all of these subsequent pushes are suddenly happening. And we have a match brought to you by AEW. The Revival versus Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. And this match was absolutely nothing. They hyped these guys up and made you think that they were viable competitors, only to have them in a semi-glorified squash match as Kurt Hawkins would get pinned and add to his losing streak, which is now at 257, and now he was going to bring Zack Ryder down with him. I don't like it. I don't like it. This is how you're going to feature the men's tag team division in a match that was not even nowhere close to maybe 6 minutes long. This is how you reintroduce Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins to the fold. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And the Revival, at this point, is it too little too late? Are they really just going to sit there and wait for their contracts to expire? Because they're not going to be granted their release. I doubt it. If that is all true, then I do not think it is going to be a fact by the end of this thing, and they're going to be held hostage by the WWE. They ain't going to let nobody go if they're truly that worried. But if you're looking at this match, what reason would they really have to stay? Alright, we're going to use you, but we're going to use you like this. I'd still be like, where's my papers, bro? This is absolutely ridiculous. I did have hope for Hawkins and Ryder, but it doesn't seem to be founded in anything. And after tonight, after such an unceremonious reunification of such a glorious tag team, for lack of a better word, came off like a bunch of shit. Speaking of glorious tag teams, the tag team champions tonight were nowhere to be seen. So what good is it having the championships if you can't even get on the show? And you're given an impromptu match against a bullshit tag team at the Royal Rumble on the pre-show. How much value do you guys think you truly have? About as much as the rest of the universe thinks of the tag team division as a whole. After this, we have Daniel Bryan in the back. The new Daniel Bryan with the new Eric Rowan walking into the old Charlie Caruso, who wants to insinuate that Daniel Bryan might not have won his matchup at the Royal Rumble last night versus AJ Styles had it not been for the involvement of Eric Rowan. Daniel Bryan took exception to this fact and made it very clear that the outcome was never in jeopardy, and he would have very easily beaten AJ Styles with or without Eric Rowan. Of course he is. What else is he going to say? And then we had absolutely nothing more. Nothing more. Nothing more from Daniel Bryan for the whole rest of the night. Guy wasn't even ringside for the main event segment. He was advertised to be there at the beginning of the show. He showed up, he said what he had to say, and then he was gone. Misstep. Misstep right there by them. We had the Elias turning heel segment with the Jeff Jarrett Road Dogg singing segment, which went off about as well as it did at the Hall of Fame ceremony. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that means it went off very badly. This guy walked over to Renee Young to try to get her singing along with him the words to With My Baby Tonight. And I'll be very honest with you guys, full disclosure, in the days of the mid-90s, I had Full Metal, the album, and I used to listen to I Can't Wait to Be Alone with My Baby Tonight. I used to sing it and play it on my guitar. I was only about 16 years old, give me a break. I was into everything wrestling, as I still am to this day, and was somewhat of a Jeff Jarrett guy. Growing up, I kind of have a soft space in my heart for Double J, and I love the whole Slapnuts gimmick, and he didn't come out dressed as the Electric Cowboy, but he did come out and give us some very cringeworthy TV, as people in the crowd and anybody they were going to try to sing along did not know the words. I swear to God, if I was watching the Road Dogg correctly, I can swear that this man, who actually sang a song back in the day, didn't remember the words as well, and this segment was about as bad as it could be. Whether or not nostalgia kicked in for me, and I kind of had a half smirk on my face, and I somewhat did enjoy it for personal reasons when looking at the show and realizing that the Elimination Chamber is 3 weeks away, and this is what you got from me on a Monday Night Raw. It's just not really that good, personal feelings aside. And the flip-flopping of Elias, heel babyface, it looks like he's about to give the Big Show a run for his money. It was just terrible. just as bad as Mojo Rawley talking to himself in the back. This guy is sitting and looking in the mirror, blaming himself for the WWE not knowing who he is, blaming himself for the WWE not caring about Mojo Rawley, and you can't blame yourself, bro. You have to go in the back and blame guys like Kevin Dunn and Mr. McMahon, who have no idea what to do with you. Should have left you in NXT for at least one more year before they brought you up, put you in an unnecessary tag team. And it's very coincidental to me that every single time they start to push Zack Ryder, they simultaneously have an idea for Mojo Rawley. Doesn't it seem that way? Every time Ryder gets a little bit of a push to go, oh, we forgot about his other friend Mojo. Well, let's do something with him. You know what? Dress in black, sit in the dark, and talk to yourself. Keep it about under a minute. We'll put it on TV. We'll see where it goes. That's how I imagine that production segment going. Because that was about as useless as a bag of hammers without no nails. Terrible. We'll continue on this streak of terribleness as Ronda Rousey came out tonight and started talking and just kind of stopped. She allowed the crowd to rattle her. Ronda rattled. Right? She had no idea where she was supposed to end up mid-promo. She was talking about going up against Sasha Banks, giving her the fight of her life last night, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like her brain just short-circuited and she had nothing to say and she kept trying to blow the microphone. And then smiling and laughing and blowing. Like, what the fuck is going on? Either she forgot her lines, or she just clearly fucked up. And then you got Michael Cole stumbling all over himself. Well, Ronda Rousey was supposed to come out tonight and issue an open challenge. I think that's what she was doing. Isn't that what you think, Renee? Oh, yes, that has to be what she's doing here. And then all of a sudden Bayley's music hits to bail Ronda Rousey out. The cue came a little bit too soon. And then they're talking about, oh, well, I think maybe Bayley's the challenger. Don't you guys know what's going on? You have a script in front of you. Why is there so much I think? Speak in definitive terms and tell us what the fuck is going on. That is the job of a commentator. Not to tell us what you think. Is this what's happening? Sound like a bunch of idiots stumbling all over themselves, not knowing what to say about this segment gone wrong. Terrible. In a match that was absolutely unnecessary. Was it a good match? Some of you might say yes, but I'm going to tell you no. This match was spotty at best. There were multiple missed spots. Ronda Rousey, I don't know if she was tired from last night or just wasn't ready to go tonight, or maybe her situation in the promo segment previous to the match just took her mentally out of where she needed to be to truly perform at the level she needed to perform versus somebody like Bayley. Bayley did her best, but you could see very much that she was kind of struggling here. Ronda Rousey failed multiple times to execute a simple arm drag takeover. And then did a very awkward, somewhat of a Hurricane Rana off of the top rope with Bayley ending up in an armbar, which she still possesses the worst armbar in all of professional wrestling. And Bayley would tap out and mercifully free us from this whole entire thing to finally have the man come out and confront Ronda Rousey, which was the only thing they needed to do tonight. More so than Seth Rollins, this was a foregone conclusion that the whole entire world knew was going to happen, so by doing it tonight, it wouldn't have hurt anything. You would have got your biggest moment of the night. I don't think there was one person on Monday Night Raw that was as over as SmackDown Live's Becky Lynch. Coming red hot off of the win at the Royal Rumble, standing there with her leg all braced up because of that unnecessary segment in the Royal Rumble, which I don't believe is genuine at all. She's trying to sell the strength of Nia Jax just by wearing that knee brace, which is just stupid to me. She should have came out in as ready as ever, invulnerable to pain, the man. But you came out giving her a little bit of a weakness, right? And then you have Ronda Rousey finally somewhat redeeming herself from the mess that she made before, getting some fire, putting some bass in her voice, getting intensity in her eyes, getting right in the face of Becky Lynch as Becky Lynch would lay down the challenge for WrestleMania. She said, "You keep saying you're the baddest woman on the planet, but you never came to me to prove it, so I'm coming to prove that you aren't." And that was just a little much for Ronda Rousey, and then she would go on the offensive, telling Becky Lynch that she is going to break her at WrestleMania 35, and she doesn't want her the way she is now. She wants the very best that Becky Lynch has. She wants the best Becky that there ever could be, so that there'll be no more excuses when she breaks her at WrestleMania. Very intense, very good, the best moment of the entire night on Monday Night Raw, and thank you, SmackDown Live, for giving us this awesome moment. Because without Becky Lynch, who knows what road we'd be on. But that was the only thing happening tonight that was worth anything. If you missed it, that's what you got to go back and watch. Becky Lynch and her encounter with Ronda Rousey is the only thing good about Monday Night Raw tonight. After this, and the match was made official, Strowman is in the back as we see Seth Rollins kind of pacing, thinking about who he's going to choose, I guess. And Strowman gives Seth Rollins his full endorsement. "Do what's right. Bring it at WrestleMania." Cares what Braun Strowman has to think at this point? Who cares? I certainly don't. Why does he need the approval of Braun Strowman? He's standing there trying to make a decision, and this big goof is coming out there distracting him with nonsense. Unnecessary. And then we would have Braun Strowman come out in his match versus Drew McIntyre, which I'm going to be honest with you guys, as I always am, actually wasn't that bad. It was actually gearing up to start to be one of the better matches of the night, until we would have the second appearance of Constable Dickhead, sticking his nose in here, continuing his feud with Braun Strowman, I guess, which once again is something that nobody wants to see. I was much more interested in the one-on-one dynamic between McIntyre and the big man, and it was getting good. And then we have this stereotypical, unexplained 2-on-1 gang-up. It seemed as if this may have been a plan between the two of them the whole time to get back at Baron Corbin. You want to keep flashing back to 9 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, when Drew McIntyre assaulted Braun Strowman, and you're trying to make a story out of nothing. Something that you needed to go all these months back for to gain any footage to try to sell your narrative. That's how long it's been since it's made a difference, or since this was anything. And now all of a sudden it's just going to be a thing again. Terrible. And just a 2-on-1 assault ends up with Braun Strowman being laid out on the steel steps, and Drew McIntyre and Constable Dickhead walking away on top. Who cares? Who the hell cares? I certainly don't. And how is this building us towards the Elimination Chamber in any way? Are these going to be 3 of the guys in the chamber? What are the stipulations of the chamber going to be? Is the winner of the chamber going to be given a chance at a certain championship? What is going on with the Elimination Chamber? You wouldn't know if you watched Monday Night Raw tonight. And now next week we will only have 2 weeks to tell everybody what's happening. It's fucking ridiculous. And then, of course, we finished off the night with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman starting off the festivities, giving us the main event match of WrestleMania, as Seth Rollins would come out and get in the face of Brock Lesnar, try to best him by dealing out the stomp, but would only end up regretting it, as he would eat multiple F5s before Brock Lesnar would collect his championship and put it in the middle of the ring before delivering one final one for good luck. Or at least you thought it was the final one, because as the champ recollected his belt and walked out of the ring, Seth Rollins, after 4 or maybe 5 F5s, was conscious and leaning on the bottom rope, screaming at Brock Lesnar, "Is that all you got, Lesnar?" And then Brock Lesnar's like, "No," and he went back in the ring and gave him another one for good measure before Monday Night Raw would finally go off the air. And my God, you guys, I just feel like they could have done so much more. so much more, as we say to you guys each and every week, as we bring the hammer down on this show and give you guys our analysis and tell you everything that was wrong with a show that you might have thought was good. But hopefully, if I did my job right, I will have educated you to the point where you will realize that as much as you might have enjoyed some of tonight's segments, which there's nothing wrong with that if you did, there is a lot that is still very wrong and a lot that needs work in the WWE, especially on this ridiculous red brand that we all unfortunately love, that we call Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys so much for being with us here again on this Royal Rumble weekend. Kicking off the road to WrestleMania has never been so exhausting between the last two nights, and we still have some work to do, as tomorrow night we have SmackDown Live's first couple of steps on the road to WrestleMania, and I will be here to bring you my thoughts and opinions on that as well. Don't forget to express your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. It is one of my favorite things in the world to do, seeing what you guys thought about Monday Night Raw. If you missed the Royal Rumble review and reaction show that went up earlier this afternoon because I was too tired to get it done last night, it will be linked in the annotations up above. Make sure you go listen to me bring the hammer down on that 5-hour slow-ass show that literally put me to sleep. If you want more on that, you have to check out the episode. We have all of the reviews of the go-home shows last week. We have the first episode of Bringing the Hammer Down, where we focus on 5 ways the WWE can fix the Riot Squad, one of which we kind of got a hint of tonight. So maybe the WWE did watch my video and has taken some of my ideas, and maybe you should go watch and see if you think my ideas are good as well. And we also have everything you need regarding NXT TakeOver. Preview and predictions and the review and reaction show are live on the channel right now. If you missed anything, it is all there for you, and I cannot thank you enough for being with me once again this weekend. All of you Sledgeheads are the biggest and best part of my day. The family we are growing here at Sledgehammer TV, my brothers and sisters in the Sledgehead Army, we are taking over the entire YouTube community, and it starts with an awesome wrestling fan like yourself. If you are not already one of the over 1,200 members of the Sledgehammer Club, all you need to do is hit that subscribe button right now to make sure that you never miss a thing every time we put up an awesome video just like this one, which is multiple times each and every week, especially following WWE events. And I want to also ask you guys, if you enjoyed today's show in any way, to make sure you smash that thumbs up button. We are on an every single episode goal of getting each video that we post to 100 likes, and you can help us get there by smashing that thumbs up right now. And then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they were confused and bewildered and bored as shit by tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, so that we can continue to infect the fans of the wrestling world with the knowledge that only comes from the yielding of the hammer. I love you guys so very, very much. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and the Wrestling God of Thunder, and his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world. He is Mr. Blue, the Snowball Microphone. The most important member of the show, as always, is you, and don't you ever forget it. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show is brought to you by Audible. Audible has over 180,000 titles that you can choose to listen to right now. You could pick one for free by going to our exclusive link. That's audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv. Go check it out today. Sign up for the 30-day free trial and get one free audiobook. Cancel the trial before the 30 days is up, and you can keep that audiobook for your whole entire life and take your time. Listen to it one page at a time, one chapter a day, one chapter an hour, however it is you want to listen to it. Audible has got you covered. Go get yours right now today. audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv. That's audibletrial.com/sledgehammertv.